The horn above gate 12 drops a note and the whole line tightens like a muscle. Dust shivers loose from the rivets in the arch. My jug knocks the calf of the man ahead and he turns without seeing me. Incense brine burns the nose, hot copper under the sweet. On the wall next to the counter, the candler's flame flutters toward the open hall and then licks back, hungry. I put my hand on Rane's head to feel him. By the time the pitch climbs again, we have shuffled 3 boot lengths, and my fingers are numb around the handle. Leo breathes at my shoulder, counting silently. It is a bad day to be small, but Rane won't leave my belt. The keepers in blue sleeves work behind the counter, handing out the stainless thumb cups, lifting jugs in slow prayer. Measure, pour, bless, they say, and knock their knuckles against the side of each container as if that can teach iron to be honest. I mouth along without sound. When Rane leans, the token around my neck hits his forehead. He looks up with the frown he gets when thinking. Does it hurt? I ask. He shakes his head serious and looks forward. We do not say we smelled smoke when we woke. We do not say the brass statue in the little cradle shrine in our hall had soot on its face that Leo wiped with the corner of his shirt. We do not say our neighbor old Mex was not in his bunk when I left for the valves. Measure, pour, bless. My turn. The blue sleeve keeper looks at the token pressed flat under my shirt collar and his eyes catch there for a blink. He tips 2 cups into our jug while the horn sings. Where to? He asks, and because he knows the faces that come every day. Back to the hearts, I say. It is the name for the pumps that take the shell's water and make it climb. It is not what they are called in lexicons, but the hearts are what they were named by hands. He nods. His fingers are red and cracked. There is a string of candle wax on his wrist like a vein. Hold for the 3rd horn, he says, not looking at me when he says it, so it doesn't sound like an instruction, only a passing thought. I nod back. The room breathes out as we turn. Rane's cheek has the wet print of the token's edge, a half circle of metal pressed into skin. He reaches up and touches it like it is a small moon. Keep it tucked, Leo says, and he pushes the round into my collar as if it might come alive and fly. We go down through the old passage that curves around the shrine instead of the broad hall. Fewer bodies. There are lambent strips here that flicker and make the grime tremble like something alive under skin. Rane runs his palm along the wallward scratches, the old prayers and names that make the metal softer if names can do that. We pass the little candle in the niche, violet wax pooled, resin and salt. Leo makes the sign toward it with the side of his hand because we are not allowed to touch the candle itself. He taps the knuckle against my shoulder 3 times after, and I tap his in answer. Habit is a rope. The hearts are below the bulk of gate 12 under the old civic ribs. And there is a constant hum there that I can find even in sleep. The weight of it is in my teeth. I have kept those hearts since my father's knees were still meatier than mine. It is a job you learn first with your knuckles, then with your ears. The lever angles have plague and blessing. We say words to them because saying words keeps the rhythm tight. Quarter turn. Listen. Hold. You don't force a valve wheel, you lean into it like an old friend. If it sticks and you swear at it, it repays you later with a rung of stairs that fails where it knows you like to jump. The machines are full of that kind of mind, thin and steady, not thinking like we do, but remembering like metal remembers a hammer. The door to the hearts has a scratch that looks like a bird in flight. I saw it the day Rane was born. He turned my head to kiss the line of rust like a saint's ankle. It is still there, the rust line. The handle sticks twice, then bows like it always does when the right-hand wrist is rolled after the second hitch. The lock says yes with a body sound, a hollow throat thump. I like locks more than most people. Inside, the air runs over my face like the heat under the skin of a loaf. The pipes sing their low vowels. The main gauge eyes look only at me when I am in here. I lay my palm on the supply line and then touch my chest because the touch is how I know my own heartbeat. It is slower here. It is steady. Leo slips into his corner on an upturned crate and starts unwinding the binding cord we use to fix the slack roll on the gauge hand, and Rane slides under the big return, where the vibration makes your bones feel like a single thing. But he likes to be a bell. Meekle. I hear the boss before I see him because his steps drag slub on one side where his boot heel carries a nail slightly proud. There. He rubs the stubble on his neck with the heel of his hand, a worry scrape. He smells like oil. You got the word? He asks. I shrug. The horn is the word. It has not given the third yet. Hold the outer bleed. Have your kit ready. 12's keepers sent a messenger. They're moving the belts. Might want us to flood the east tunnels to slow the... He doesn't finish. He scratches again. Hold for third, he says, and then he hauls himself up into the west bracket with a grunt to look at the chain tension as if talking wasn't safe near the pipes. Flooding the east merits a full protocol, I say, because the words are what there are. Because if you say them, the world stays as it was for a breath. And he doesn't answer. He is looking at the chain. The link says no, says more. Rane has a nut in his mouth rolled along his teeth with a clicking sound. He spits it into his palm and holds it up to me like a tooth. Swallow air, not iron, I tell him, and he laughs because the words fall out of my mouth the same way every time. He has heard them since he could stand. We go about the breath-slow work. There is a valve that likes attention when the lights flicker. I give it that attention. Quarter turn. Listen. Hold. There is a gasket that smells wrong. I smear sealant with my heart and 2 fingers and whisper to it to set. I tap the gauge that sticks. The machine breath shifts, long, slow, like a tired sleeper is turning. I keep it asleep, and we do not look at the little paper pinned under the torn mesh on the near beam. The one with the oiled stamp and my name and the words Gate 12 Access in block script. We do not look at the hole in the mesh where a rat chewed, but I feel the paper through my shirt where the cord bites the back of my neck, and I feel the idea of a gate while the air sings. When the horn gives its third low note, it isn't the signal I thought it would be. It is wrong, previous nights and days given over to the right tone mapped into the bones, and then the horn chooses something else. It comes through all the walls at once, a sound that makes the metal look like water in my eyes. The boss drops his wrench. It hits the deck with a clap. Leo looks at me with all his teeth showing in the face of fear. He started losing those 2 teeth when Rane was born, and I used to joke the boy took them. I can see the gum ridge as if it is miles away. Rain slides from under the pipe and moves toward Leo without standing. He crawls like a dog across the grime because he knows there are times when you do not stand. All belts, the box says, a voice with gravel static. All belts to Gate 12. All keepers to post. Move your people to the inner doors. Hold the east. Hold, hold. Hold means do not ask why. It means do the thing you already know how to do. It means blessings in the mouth until your tongue is heavy and you have worn the shape of them. We move. I take the mod wrench, the spanner, the chalk. Leo rolls the cord into a coil and slings it over his shoulder. He lifts Rane to his hip in one motion, and the boy wraps his arms around him, and we become a single object composed of 3. And the boss is already at the hatch to the east bleed, cranking the handle. His mouth moves. Sweat. The smell is suddenly not oil anymore. It is hair burning and the game the kids play with old rubber in the hall after cleaning day when they have a match. Only bigger. Only everywhere. We take the stairs 2 at a time up to the inner spread where the passage widens around the spine pillar. There are people moving in the corridor like a river moves when you throw big square stones into it. Not smoothly like you expect, but with sudden troughs where a human body can disappear and then be somewhere else. I know the cross corridor that runs behind the old laundry. I put my shoulder into the line and we advance sideways, each step a small fight won and then given up. My hand is on the belt of the man ahead of me, and his hand on the belt of the woman ahead of him. Leo's fingers are white on my sleeve. Rene's breath is on my neck. He says into my shirt, "Are we going up?" And I say, "Up," and the word tastes like tin. The old laundry is shut, its door a metal tongue stuck out at us. Somebody has chalked prayers all the way up the jamb and over the lintel, our words crossed with someone else's. I smell the drain-slick sweetness where the round sink used to dump when women sang and their hands went red in winter. I take the cross corridor anyway because I know the ways past the old places. I know where the floor loses the slope of comfort. Above us the horn is a new thing, a hand all shriek. I have never heard that tone. We turn again. We come into the narrow near the service lock where the stone is green with old condensation, and the little shrine halfway down has fallen sideways off its screws. The candle's glass is smashed in glitter on the floor. The picture of the golden man with his hand out is face down in hair and oil. There is a footprint on it. I step over the glass and then go back because habit is a rope. I put the frame upright with the toe of my boot and push the tooth of glass out of the painted eye. Rene's fingers brush mine. The nail on his second finger is black where he shut it in a hinge last work cycle. The paint has worn away on the golden man's hand from true places touching. It is a dull spot where it should shine. When we push into the upper level of 12, the air is different in the way a room is different when there is a death in it. The same shapes, the same corners, but something has left and won't come back. The main hall is a throat. In it is full. The black jackets have their line across the mouth of it, shoulder plates touching, masks down, glass terminals dark or hot. Their lashes could be metal for all I can tell. Their clubs hang idle like tails. Behind them, the door is only a promise of a door, wall upon wall of iron folded down into each other, the teeth showing. There is a man with a vox collar pacing in front of them like a dog pulled too taut. He walks and says, "Hold. In order. Hold. In order." He says it into a thing, and the thing says it to us, swallowing the human from the words so it is only order. I watch his mouth form the letters so I can put the human back in and hear the breath. I press the pass paper against the heart of my collar with my chin so I can get my hands free. I lift Rane from Leo because Leo needs both hands to hold on in this. We edge along the wall. The horns are 3 tones now. Repeated and repeated, a chant with no meaning, a skin of sound. People hold up little circles and rectangles and tears, and the black jackets do not look down. We move. A child at my elbow cries with the thin keening of a kettle. The smell is burned sugar and lasting metal. In the upper scaffolds above the doors, shapes move that are too large to be men. We have seen them, the tall ones, twice when I was young, when there was a parade to honor the ship that arrived to take a tithe of grain. They passed like statues passing on their own. Now the ones up there move with all their weight in their knees, and their jaws are iron, and the marks painted on their plates are of angers I do not know. They set square boxes under the buttresses and fix them with thumbs the size of my forearm, and their breath fogs their masks. When they look down, it must be like looking into the sea. You cannot see all the way to the bottom where we are. They do not look down. I feel my pass paper. I can feel the ink stamp through the shirt. I tell myself how I will say the numbers that are on the paper when it is my turn, how I will say them without shaking so they will be heard. When we get closer, I see the line has another line in it, invisible until you are almost at it. A rope of bodies that is not people but intention, the black jacket's intention, a curve like an animal's spine that shapes around who passes and who does not. I put Leo in front of me because he is gentle in a way that looks like less threat, and I put Ronnie in front of Leo because nobody strikes the face of a child, but I know better. The clubs do not see children or old, and they only see distance shortened or made longer. The Voxman's mouth forms no more, and the thing says, "Hold. Return to your habitations. Hold and pray. Gates will be opened as security permits." The crowd lays its words on him, and his shoes are swallowed in mud that is not mud. We are 1,000 throats. I get the pass out with one hand. I cannot untie the cord, so I break it. The string bites a groove into my neck as it goes, and heat rises there. The paper is damp from my chest, and the ink that named me has bled a little blue into the yellow fibers like veins under trying skin. I hold it high and call the number over the top of it, and the number leaves my mouth and falls down and digs into the floor like a nail. I try again. Above us, one of the tall ones slams a plate into a joint, and the sound is a bell you feel in the organs. A run goes rigid under my hands, a fish not wanting to be held. His breath is in my shirt. Leo's fingers have a tremor I do not know. The black jacket in front of me does not look at the paper. His club rises and presses the bone of my chest through my shirt so that breath cannot go anywhere but against the bone and weight. He pushes, and his face is stones with nothing behind them but more stones. He says because he must say something, because the human in him would choke otherwise back. And the word is so small that the club does not know what to do with it, and so it moves without it. I keep the paper up, and his hand moves too, and the club catches my wrist just under the thumb, and the paper goes away, and I do not know where. I drop. Not to my knees. The crush would fold my legs, but the place my knees want to be is called, and my body answers halfway. Leo's hand closes on the back of my neck so I do not fall all the way. I do not see the pass. I see boots. I see a boot lift and come down on something that cracks, and I know the sound with my whole life. It is the sound of a gear tooth breaking off and spinning away inside a housing where nobody will ever get it again. I look up and see the giant's hand lift and come down on the side of the statue set in the niche above the gate. A statue I have stared at all my life when I had to wait in lines here. A statue of the war man with the bird on his chest and the sword like a hot rivet. The giant's hand has a tool in it, and he drives the tool into the statue's ankle like cutting a loaf. Another giant on the far side does the same. The rope around the statue's waist goes taut. They pull, and the big man falls. He breaks with noise. He breaks like a man breaking, and like a bell breaking, and like an oath you wish you had not made breaking. The bird on his chest gives first, each wing snapping back along its hinge in a gesture so familiar I want to close my own arms and wrap them in. The head goes last. It rolls once and then is a face, and then the iron in the face goes black. And it is just iron, not face. They push the pieces into the mouth of the gate and pack them there like rags into a leaking pipe. The giant on the left turns and looks out toward empty space above us, not at us but past us, sending the look to somewhere far where it has to land without us in it. I stand up. I cannot feel my hands. Somebody as big as 4 of me in black ceramic says something into someone else's ear above us, and then the bass of it comes all through the hall. Contain. The word has a weight I can taste, ash and yard-long nails. Back, the black jacket in front of me says again, because he is a man, and his mother taught him to say the word before he ever put on this jacket. He is careful to keep his eyes on the place where my eyes are not. His club presses a little more, not a strike, not a mercy. The rope of intentional bodies is in positions I did not know bodies could make. In the corner of my sight, a flame rises where a little someone tore old cloth and held it into the chemicals spilled near the counter without knowing what they were. The lights in the ceiling pick that up and go out. In the way they go out sometimes when you touch a switch you should not. The only bright is the candler on the wall, and it kicks and runs like it is being chased, and then it is gone too. We are all only skin in the sound of breathing. Leo says my name. He always says it like a prayer. Even when he is angry, he cannot help that. Mikkel, and his hand on the back of my neck is the rope that the statue had around its waist. I turn away because there is only one direction for us now. In the press, the pass paper eats itself into my shirt. I do not feel it anymore. I feel the empty that the string left across my neck when it snapped. We back into bodies and bodies back into us, and we fold into the passage we came from because it is what I know, a geometry that lives in my feet. The black jacket's line moves forward like a gate closing, and we are quick enough to be on the right side of it when it stops. The big pieces of the broken warman fill the gate's mouth like a roar held between teeth. The giants place squares on the stones, their thumbs press and twist. There is a sound then, a steady sound with no spikes inside it, like rain inside a house where you cannot see it, and the air moves and warms, and for a little time there is no shape except heat. We are running. We do not say that we are. Our feet say it for us, hitting the floor in the old way when the drill siren went for the first time when I was 6, and we all had to learn together how to go in one direction without thinking whose hand you left go of. I do not let go of any hands, and there are only 2 I can hold, and I have both. The corridors we move through are old in the way a song is old when the person who made it is dust. I could walk them with my eyes shut, but the lights go out one by one in patterns I do not know, and it is not the dark I expected. Machines hum and then stop in order, stagger, begin again, and stutter. The horn keeps its little 3-part prayer. The smell in the east passage rises until I know it was in the stones all along, waiting to be let out. Rot and sharp sweet. There is laughter from somewhere, a man who cannot keep his voice from trying to turn anything into a joke, even air being too much. We take the green corridor by the big water stain where the pipe sweat makes a picture of a fish that my finger wants to trace. We go down through the locked hatch I am not supposed to know, and I lift the latch with the wrench in the way of it, and the lock says yes because it knows me. We go into the old pump room where the walls are quint plates and the floor is not smooth because the men who poured it had a dead brother that day and they did not care anymore either way. You can feel that in your feet, an old anger. There are a dozen of us when I count. Counting is a habit that has taken me through many days. When Rane was in Leo for 6 months and we did not know whether he would come all the way out, I counted the rivets in the ceiling where I lay at night. Counting is a rope. The dozen of us are the woman with the henna that is just mud now, the boy with the string against his lip that he cannot stop chewing, the old man whose head is too big for his body because life stole from everything else to keep any part alive. 2 men from belts not mine who I do not recognize. Faces like mine but differently made in decisions I have not had to make. A girl with a wound on her thigh wrapped with breadcloth. A black jacket without his jacket, his shirt sticking to his back where the black was burnt off him. We do not ask. We do not have a priest. Hold the door, I tell the men with hands like mine. We lift the bar into its brackets. The door says yes. The room makes itself small like a muscle tightening when there is a needle in it. The hum of the pumps is below my voice, but not by much. The main gauge is watching us. Every time there is a breath in the room, a needle shakes a little, and it is as if we are all inside the machine and cannot get out, which is true in more ways than one. Water falls in the back corridor, a curtain of it. That is not right. And I go to the back, where the east line bleed valve is, and see the seam that should be dry is wet. It beads like sweat. I set my ear there, and the word inside is pressure. "Can you flood?" one of the beltmen asks. He is not asking me to do it. He only wants to know if it is a thing that can be done. If a wheel turned will lead to a thing. Sometimes that is hope. Sometimes it's only a place to put hands. If I do, I say, it comes here too. He nods like a man who has thrown a coin and knows it will land heads because the coin only has heads on both sides. There is something at the door. Not the door we came through, the other one, the little access door that lets you into the service crawl where only shoulders go. It is a sound like a hand in a bag of nails, slow because it is not hands that are doing it. The woman with the henna, the mud, eye looks at me because I have on my face the look of a man who knows doors. It is not that I can keep anything out, it is that I know when things will come in. We can hold this. A while, I say, putting my palm against the service door. There is cold like old stone there, then a warmth that feels like a living thing breathing on the other side. The old man who is mostly head says pray in the voice of a person who doesn't think the person who hears him will do it and is ashamed of that thought. Leo sets Rane on the crate and kneels and says the words he knows and teaches them with his breath as he says them. Rane whispers along. He does not understand all the shapes of the words yet. I can hear the places where he tries to make the same shapes with his tongue and cannot. He is still better at it than me. The door shivers. The thing behind it is not trying to open it exactly. It is trying to know it. Sometimes people do that without knowing. You put your hand on something to see what shape you are, so the thing says, I am this, and your hand says, I am this. Then you know or you don't. The door does not know this. At the gauge, the needle does a slow drift. There is a hand you can put on a machine and it will behave because you have touched it. I do that gently, and then when it does not do what I want, I do it harder. That is work. Quarter turn, I say, and I put my shoulder into the bleed wheel and feel it fight me like a man in a doorway. Hold. The room changes shape. You can tell by the breath of the woman with the wound on her thigh. She is either going to die now or later, and water will decide which. The black jacket without jacket comes close to me. On his face is in the corner of my eye. It is a stranger's face, even if we were born a floor apart. Are they coming? He asks. He does not mean the things at the door. The belts? I say, because it is what my mouth gives back when you put a question in it, it returns a smaller one. He shakes his head without looking away from the door. He means the ones above, the tall ones. Or others. Angels, soldiers, help. Words that are the same until they are not. He is bigger than me, but he has become very small in his own skin. I think of how the giant above the gate looked away from us and toward his duty. I think of the statue falling, how the sound was a thing like heat. I say nothing. He nods because he knows. Noise comes from the east that is not like machines. It is singing high and thin. He may be a choir in need of a boy's treble and a note it cannot reach. It is coming closer. The hair on my forearms lifts itself up in answer. Leo, who loves the sound of voices more than any man I have ever known, stops his mouth mid-prayer because his body does not know whether that voice is a thing you approach with awe or a thing you bury your face against somebody else to avoid. Ronnie looks at me. He always looks at me when there is a thing he wants to know how to feel. It's fine, I say. Not because it is, but because that is the rope I have and I throw it. The old man who is all head laughs once without joy and then looks ashamed of that too. I turn the wheel a quarter and the singing goes away into a new corridor because water knows more ways than we do. The roar comes in on its back. The pump hum deepens. There is a wet at my shoulder where the wheel sweated into me. The girl with the wound grips the crate with both hands. Blood makes her fingers black up to the nail. The needle in the main gauge swings 2 ticks and stops. It is not good, but it is not death. When I was a child, the first time I got to go with my father to the big hearts, the biggest, at the city's center, the ones that take the sea itself and lift it to roofs. He held my hand and said nothing for half the day except the names of the things we passed. Elbow, bend, plate, bolt. It was the only time I ever heard him say so many words in a row. He did not tell me what they were for or what they meant because he thought the names meant all the parts that could ever come after. If you knew the name, you could work out the rest because the name was the shape. And when I am in a room with a machine, it is like he is in the room. This is a kind of hope that is not a thing. The rooms here do not hold it anymore. The names are still names, but they do not do anything by themselves. You have to put your hands. The service door bows in, then out. The warm behind it grows warmer, then cools like something there that breathes slower than we do. The black jacket without jacket puts his shoulder there and then takes it away. He is a man thinking about how to die in a way that makes sense. I watch him do it because there is nothing I can teach him he does not already have in his body. He will either find it or not. Leo whispers the words again and kisses Rane's hair, and the boy leans into it, and I can hear his teeth click together under the pressure to strengthen a small place. I go to the main supply throw because it is the only thing that feels like a lever I am meant to pull. The handle is old steel polished by hands, and when I lay my palms on it, it almost rises to meet me. Quarter, I tell it, and it listens because it is polite. The needle on the gauge moves. I can hear the sound of water in the east climbing somewhere it has not climbed in my lifetime. I do not know whose home it will find first. I think of the lines of chalk on doorways at knee height where children measure how tall they have gotten, and I think of those lines underwater. I think of the little candle on the shrine in the green corridor that I righted with my boot. It will float out of its dish. There is a bang at the door that makes the black jacket's eyes close. He does not open them for a breath, and when he does, he lifts his chin like he is going to see the person who taught him to do it at the back of the room, nodding. He braces. Leo says my name again, gentler, like the first time he said it. I do not turn because there are only so many times a man can turn and see what he always sees. Mikkel, I know, I say, and I do. The main feed from the upper levels is dying. It is doing it in the way machines do, polite at first, then honest. The needle falls one tick, then two, then shakes and comes back, then drops and stays. The hum stutters. Somewhere a belt is no longer sitting in the tooth right, and it is making a sound like worry. I put my hand to the handle of the feed, and because I have to try, I pull. It is a beautiful motion because it does exactly what it is supposed to do. It resists, then surrenders, and the weight moves with me, and the water thinks about what I want it to do, and it does it. That is all there is. Hold, I say, and the wheel answers under my skin. The first crude joy in a day that will break on joy like teeth on stone. The room changes shape again. The air feels less like a throat and more like lungs. The old man who is all head closes his eyes and opens them, and there is thanks there that is not a prayer to anyone. It will not hold. I know this like I know the curve of the pipe that runs behind the old laundry. I will bleed the east like they asked. I will flood the lower tunnels so whatever is there comes with the water or away from it, I do not know which, and I will seal this door until my arms fail. And the 12 of us will be 11, will be 9, will be 6. Counting will not help. The black jackets will hold the other side of the gate with what they have. The giants will do what they are made to do and leave when they are finished, and the sky will be the same whether anyone is alive to look at it from below. It will not hold, and we will, for as long as the term means anything. The first water comes under the service door as a thin line that looks like a string of solder running along the floor edge. Then it is more. It is cold. My ankles find out that they are alive in a way they were not before. It has grit in it that finds the cut in Leo's palm from when he slid his hand last week on the ladder, and it finds it the way a tongue finds a broken tooth. He breathes as if air is a thing that stands in front of him and must be pulled past. Rain draws his knees up. The girl on the crate lifts both feet. It is funny for half a heartbeat because she makes a face like she is a child pretending not to feel a puddle, and then she is a child because we are all children underwater. We go up on things with our feet because that is what you do when water comes, so we will feel dry in the parts of us that matter. I stand on the rung set into the pump body. Leo puts Rane on the higher shelf where we keep the tins of sealant and the old tin box of bolts whose lid has never closed right in my life. I step so my head is under the gauge. I like the needle to point at me when it decides. The door comes in, not all at once, but like a breath being forced out between teeth, a sigh turned into something else. The black jacket leans into it and his shoulder goes hard, and I can see the place on his skin where the seam of the jacket's undershape left a pattern that is a kind of map. The map is to where the jacket is not. There is a noise that is not a noise so much as a feeling, a high metal against bone feeling, and I know it as the sound of something scraping a man's tooth from inside his own mouth. Then the man is pushed away from the door and water comes, not like decision now, but like inevitability. And it is not cold anymore because blood has been let into it from the other side. It is red for a breath, and then it is just water again because everything is only itself eventually. A shape pulls back in the flood like a leg with fingers where there should not be fingers. We do not name it. It is there. It is not important yet. Here, I say. Ito and I put Leo's hand where the bar is, and the new man with him takes the other side. I am doing the work that I have done every day I can remember, holding weight while someone else puts in the pin. The pin is the thing that says this will stay for a while. The pin is a word you cannot say unless you are willing to put your fingers under it. I drop the pin. The bar hammers it into place with its own weight, and I have to use my whole body to get it to seat. It does. With a jump I can feel under my soles. The door holds. The water finds new routes and runs into the little channels in the floor that were made by men who did not know why they were making them but made them anyway and saved us this breath. The gauge needle moves again. The room is quiet except for the pump and the body sounds of 12 people making the same movements, and the singing in the east begins again. It sounds closer. When it stops, all that is left will be water and metal, which do not sing by themselves. You should, Leo says, and he looks at me with the eyes that told me we were going to try and make Rane a thing in the world. He does not finish the sentence because he does not finish sentences when he does not know where they go. He puts his hand on my wrist and the scar there makes the shape under his palm. His hand is not warm because the room has taken warmth from us like a tithe. Count with me, I tell Rane, because the boy needs a rope and numbers are 1 breath, 2, 3. He starts. His lips move. He watches his own chest with very serious eyes. He counts wrong sometimes, skipping, and then he corrects himself and loses the whole count and starts again. Leo puts his mouth against his hair and says the words and the counting together so they make a braid. The water climbs to the second rung and then sits on it like a man at a bar taking a breath. It will climb again. It always does. The black jacket's lips are blue. The girl with the wound is white around the mouth. The old man is still alive because he has always been alive. The new men look like they will make it to the place where they hate something enough to drag their bodies farther than they should go. I think about where hate might do work here. It has no lever to put under. Something scratches at the service door from under the water now. It is not hands or claws, but something else. A feeling like hair in your mouth that you cannot spit because your tongue does not know how to shape the push. The smell is rotten sugar, and the singing stutters, then buries itself in the sound. The way a hand goes under a blanket and the blanket pretends it does not know. We know. The machine knows. The needle knows. The pump shivers. This is not fatigue. This is the moment where a machine decides whether it will break slowly or refuse. It chooses. It refuses. Pride. It is an old pump. It does not like to be seen. It will wait until we are looking at something else and then let its belt go, the way a man will wait until the room is empty to lay down. I stroke the housing like it is a flank. My father's voice is in my hand and I think, elbow, bend, plate, bolt. We cannot leave. The only way out is the door that lets us into water and the things in the water, and the other door where I know the blackjackets line now and men in coats I do not know, and behind them the giants and the broken man packed into the space he once watched. Once I would have said we wait for the horn to call a new note and for someone to tell us, and that would be hope. I would have said when the blue sleeves touched our jugs and said bless it mattered more than the water. I have the water now, and blessing is a mouth habit that keeps hands steady. And when I say the words, they hold back panic, not fate. We will do the work. That is all. 3 more breaths, I tell Rane, and we count. He stops at 2 because he forgets he cannot talk while counting and tells me his knee itches. And then he starts again with a solemnity he borrowed from someone else. I watch his lips make numbers and I learn to breathe when he does. There is a slam above us in the hall near the candler. A sound like large spirits pounding into true, the way a smith hammers the seam of a barrel to keep it from weeping. Maybe the giants are doing what they do up there. Maybe they are sealing, maybe they are leaving. The pin holds in our bar. The wheel turns in my hand under the calluses like a faithful thing. The water takes my ankles. It takes Leo's shins. It takes the edges of the crate where Rane sits, his boots on the brace. It climbs without hurry. It does not care if we notice. I think of the pass paper under my shirt, pulp now pressed against cloth, its words become fur. I think of the string's groove on my neck and the warmth of it, how it cut and bled and I did not notice until now. It stings like I am alive. I rub the skin. It feels wrong and good. We are quiet. The singing in the east has become a shaking in the floor. I hear the machine and the machine hears me. I hear the other sound under it like teeth clacking in the pockets of men. I put my palm on the valve and the valve is cold. The water licks up my knee. My pants turn heavy. The girl with the wound hisses when the water finds her thigh and then her breath goes shallow because pain does that. The black jacket without jacket came with nothing and has nothing, and he stands with the bar like it is his baby and will not let go until his hands forget they are hands. Leo says the words again and again with Rane, and the last letter of each touches the first of the next, a circle made with breath. The world narrows to a gauge and a boy's breath and the feel of steel under skin. We have become very small in a way that is honest. The horn above gate 12 changes again, a little shift, as if a hand has lifted and then put itself back down 6 hairs away. It does not matter. It is only sound, the way the statue was only iron at the end, not a face. We do the work. You put your hands. There will be a time when the door will not hold and the bar will be less than the thing that wants in. There will be a time when the pump will decide to break in the way that takes nothing with it because it has done enough. There will be a time when Rane's lips will stop making numbers. Not now. 3, Rane says, and his mouth is a small, soft thing I have kissed every night since the night he arrived. He looks at me and I look at the needle and the needle says, yes, here I am, and the water reaches the 2nd rung on the pump body and then takes the 3rd. And I put my hand flat against the steel and feel the hum come into my bones and hold there like a note held until it vanishes in the shape of you and then is gone.